Fighting Blindness Canada's View Point education series shares the latest in vision research, provides opportunities for you to ask your questions, and connect with other people who are living with a blinding eye disease. The session you're about to watch is a recording. To learn more about the research we fund and upcoming programs and events, please visit our website at fightingblindness.ca. Viewpoint is proudly presented by our Platinum partner Bayer and supported by our Gold partner Roche and Silver partners AbbVie, Astellas, Beacon Therapeutics, Johnson & Johnson, and Specsavers. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy this session and share your thoughts with us in the comment section below.
I've got three fantastic panelists up here on the stage with me. I'm going to introduce them to you really briefly, and then we'll get into our questions. In the middle, we have Dagmar Jamieson. Dagmar was diagnosed as legally blind at 13 and has since embraced life with drive and courage and is now training with Canada's adaptive water ski team, which I think is so cool. I want to hear more about that. And then at the far end, we've got Wayne Kostiuk, who has built a career in commercial construction before adapting to his life with retinitis pigmentosa. Today, he stays active in retirement and is engaged in research efforts through Fighting Blindness Canada. And then next to me is Sandra Niedermier, who's a retired school principal and lifelong arts advocate, who's continuing to explore her passions while managing the effects of macular degeneration. So together, we're going to talk about some stories of diagnosis, adaptation, and some lessons learned along the way. So please join me in welcoming Wayne, Dagmar, and Sandra. So why don't we start at the beginning, and we'll talk a little bit about, can you tell me, I'm going to move to each of you in turn, to tell me a little bit about how you were first diagnosed with vision loss, and sort of what emotions came up for you during that time. So maybe we'll start right here on my right with Sandra. Put you on the spot.
Definitely putting me on the spot. I guess my journey kind of started. My father had AMD, and about at age 50, the eye specialist I was with sort of suggested that I started taking Vitalux, which I did faithfully. And when I heard about it, I was disappointed, but my father had AMD at about the age of 80, late 80s. And so I kind of thought, I'm hoping, like father, like daughter, that I won't get it that early. However, what happened is after I had my surgery for to have my cataracts done, then sort of January after that, in 2020, then I was diagnosed with wet macular degeneration, and that started the process of having injections. Now, I did have a situation where this was kind of traumatic for me. I started off with a physician who was less than supportive and quite negative about my vision loss, and that was very disappointing. So I was lucky to have some people who kind of counseled me, and I ended up being referred then to another doctor who was absolutely spectacular. That's Dr. Karani. And at that time, he proceeded to listen to me, to understand what I was going through, and that made me feel so much better. He also diagnosed me at that time with geographic atrophy, which adds another complication to my macular degeneration. So since that time, I still have vision, fairly good vision in my right eye because of the injections at 20/25. And just recently, this last year, my left eye, which is dry macular degeneration, it really decreased a lot. So it's gone down to about 20/300. So the big E is hard to see. So now I'm a little bit more frustrated, but still, I'm lucky in the fact that I still have some vision and I can proceed ahead.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm just going to make yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to make a comment. If we can all really talk into those mics, because they're not that powerful. I'm hearing from the back that we can't be heard. So thank you. That was great, and how important it is to have a doctor that you can trust and that you feel comfortable with. I think that's a really important thing that we can explore a bit more. Dagmar, what about you? Can you share a bit about your journey? And again, right up against your...
Okay, I'm almost kissing it now, so I hope everybody can hear me. So at the age of 13, my first day back at school, I realized that I couldn't see the blackboard clearly. And that was when my mother took me to the ophthalmologist because I thought I might need a pair of glasses, hopefully. Well, at that time, I didn't even want glasses. But they told me that I was losing my sight. And at that point, I could only read the big letter E. So it was devastating. However, I could still, you know, I had a lot of peripheral vision. I could still do a lot of activities that all my friends could do. So I proceeded to focus on what I can do rather than what I cannot do. And that is what I continue to do for the rest of my life. Of course, there were many moments where I wish I could just see. Life would be so much liberating and freeing if I could only see, and it wouldn't be as much of a struggle as it is. But when you focus on what you can do rather than what you cannot do, it makes life a lot easier. And like my friend next to me, is it Sandra, I also came across a very esteemed, wonderful man named Dr. Ian MacDonald, who enthused me about sight-saving measures like, well, way back 10 years ago. I didn't meet Dr. Ian MacDonald till probably 10 years ago. He introduced me to the FFB, which at that time was Fighting Blindness Canada. Now it's Fighting Blindness Canada. I wanted to be part of raising funds to cure eye diseases, and I know that the FBC is, and all the researchers that are being funded by the FBC are doing their best to one day, maybe my grandchildren or maybe even me, I'll be able to see again. Who knows? But I'm not going to stay depressed until those days. I'm going to continue to do all sorts of things. Anything that I'm capable of doing, I will give it a go and give it a try. So that is my journey.
Thank you so much, Dagmar.
Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit more about those strategies in a little while, but in the meantime, I'd love to hear from Wayne at the end. Wayne, could you talk a little bit about your diagnosis?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so I was just living my life normally. I was wearing glasses. I went to my optometrist in the late 80s, and he saw something irregular in my retina and suggested I go see a specialist. We made an appointment, went to see a specialist, and after quite a few tests, it was determined that I had retinitis pigmentosa. I didn't really know anything about it. No family history. I was, I guess, kind of afraid and scared at first, and then I met a wonderful eye doctor, and we had many conversations about what could happen, how long I was going to take before I'd lose my vision and stuff like that. Currently, I have a zero vision in my right eye, and I have about 5% in my left eye. That was 40 years ago when I was first diagnosed. So currently, I'm in a phase 3 medical trial down in the US for gene replacement therapy on my left eye, and I'm about halfway through, and happy to say that everything is going well. I got introduced to Fighting Blindness Canada and a wonderful doctor, as mentioned earlier by Sandra, Dr. Amin Karani, that I'm currently seeing on a regular basis. And I just keep having wishes and hopes that one day that research will come through, and that maybe I'll get my vision back. And if I don't, then I guess down the line someone else will benefit from the research that FBC is doing currently. I think that's probably about it. Fazel Kassam from the Southern Alberta Eye Institute's been helping me. Genetic testing, I've talked to Ian MacDonald as well in the past, and organized all that to make sure that I try and stay up to date and educated in all possible ways. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. So just listening to your introductions, I think it's interesting. All three of you sort of were diagnosed at a different sort of part of your life. So thinking back to sort of those early days of diagnosis, what support made the most difference for you? And are there things that you wish that you would have had that you didn't? And maybe, Dagmar, since you were diagnosed so young, why don't we start with you? What was that like as 13? That must have been...
Well, at 13, it was devastating. My teachers, when they realized I couldn't see, they gave me binoculars to see the blackboard, which for a stylish 13-year-old, that was really awful. But my friends, they assisted me, they helped me. For a long time, I hid the fact. It was kind of a secret just amongst my friends that I was losing my sight, which I regretted, because when I did finally open up and people were aware that I wasn't, that I wasn't getting dementia, because people would introduce themselves, and then if they were across the street or on the other side of the room, I couldn't recognize them, or they thought I didn't recognize them, but it was because I couldn't see. I would recognize people's voices, I would wave at them and say, "Hi, Andy," and so people thought I could see. They were very confused. So there was a time where I dreamt that technology could be or replace some of my sight. And today, speech to text, voice modulated computers, there's miracles just unfolding in front of me. And I am currently I'm co-authoring a book about technology and how technology enhances our sight. And I wish I had those tools when I was 13. It would have been so much easier. In those days, I was told that I was going to lose my sight, and there was nothing they can do. There was nothing in the foreseeable future. But I continued to dream, and I continued to believe. And I'm hoping that someday, somehow, there will be something that will give me more of my vision than just technology. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.
Sandra, the same question for you. Sort of, when you were first diagnosed, what really made a difference for you, or anything you wish that you'd had that you didn't?
I think the three things that were most important to me, the first one was my friends and my family. My husband has been wonderful in supporting me throughout this journey. My friends do things like drive me. I have given up driving, so they will drive me places. My husband is my Uber driver. And the other thing is that they will often, if we're going to a museum, they will help me read the placards. Well, they read them to me. I don't read them. So they read it to me. And even things like, just recently I did a trip to Greece, and I went with a friend of mine, and it was her walking ahead of me saying, "Okay, there's 7 steps here. Okay, watch out, the cobblestones are a little rough here." Those things have been just so important. And I think if you have vision loss, one of the things that I really would advise you is embrace your friends. Let them know they are going to be one of your best resources. They're just wonderful. The other thing that I found for me was the Canadian Institute for the Blind. I've been there twice. I quite obviously need to go again because I've just learned that they have some more things, and I definitely need your book on technology. And so I've been there a couple of times, and each time they've ended up providing me with very valuable information that helps me in my daily living. And the third thing that I found has been really important is my circle of physicians. And be that your family doctor, because they can be very helpful in that regard, or just, I have Dr. LaRoque at the Glenmore Vision Center, and she has been wonderful because she said to me, "Okay, I'll get you registered with the public library so that Jen, you can use Libby so that you can listen to your books and you can do it that way." That has been very, very beneficial for me so that I don't have to be worrying about struggling to do my reading. I can put it on in the kitchen as I'm cooking, and I can listen to a book, so that's wonderful. So those things have been very, very important to me. The one thing that I would like more of is the technology, so thank you for doing that. And I will be very interested in your book, because I really find that technology is so beneficial to us. I have a friend who is kind of, I'm older, so we tend to resist technology a little bit. And I really encourage everyone to reach out and try and use technology as much as you can. We often throw up our hands in frustration with it, but it really is the answer for us moving forward.
Wayne, how about you? Anything that you'd wanted to share about when you were first diagnosed? What supports did you rely on, and anything you'd like to see more of?
I guess similar to my fellow panelists, friends, family, fellow employees, and I went for quite a while without seeking out assistance or help or whatever the case may be. But after a while, people really came to the forefront and helped me in a lot of ways. Walking upstairs, stuff like that, opening doors. People do really want to help, helping out at the grocery store. As time moved on, I had a cane, but I never used it. I didn't want to use it, and I was not afraid to use it, but I took the cane to the grocery store for the first time out in public, and people were really helpful and wanted to find stuff for you and stuff like that, and not being able to drive at a certain point, I had to surrender my driver's license, which was a big milestone in my life, and people, would volunteer to drive me here, drive me there, and luckily I've got a few nephews around, and my partner's my Uber driver, I guess, or my Lyft driver. So, but at the same time, you have to be cognizant of making sure that you show your appreciation to everyone who helps you, and that's worked really well for me in the past.
Thanks, Wayne. This is an interesting question. I think, Dagmar, you mentioned this, and again, I think, being young, when you were diagnosed, you talked about kind of hiding or not keeping it from other people that you were experiencing vision loss. And I remember a panel that we had at another event, someone talked about it as like coming out of the vision loss closet. So it was like, I wanted to throw that to Sandra and Wayne. Did you ever feel the need that you had to hide that vision loss, like Dagmar talked about? And if so, sort of what made you feel ready and comfortable to share that with others?
Yeah, I really didn't feel the need to share the fact that I was suffering with an eye disease that would eventually cause blindness, but I didn't go out shouting and hollering, I've got RP, I've got RP. But as time went on, and I learned more about it, and when the opportunity presented itself, I didn't shy away from telling people about the issue that I had. And as time went on, especially working on the job site, it became apparent that I wasn't seeing that well. So the topic came up many, many times. And at that point, I'm more than willing to share some information about retinitis pigmentosa and try to educate people and talk to the people about the CNIB and FBC, and that's about it.
Well, I grew up with a mother who's drummed into me that honesty was always the best policy. And so I really never have hidden the fact that I've got vision loss. I guess I was fortunate because it came after I had retired from working. So for me, that was a little bit of a benefit, I guess, although it was disappointing, but it was still a benefit. And so now I'm quite willing, when I'm out, to say, in the grocery store, like Wayne, I will often say, oh, could you just find me that jar of pimentos, because I can't see where they are. Or at a restaurant, I'm willing to say, I can't quite read the total on the bill. Could you give me a hand on that? And I find that if you kind of approach people with a, good morning, good day, I have a little bit of vision loss, could you help me? And a smile, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great place to move into sort of thinking about strategies. So Dagmar and I were having a chat earlier about this. So over the years, what sort of maybe personal insights, but what sort of really practical strategies that have you discovered that you think could potentially help other people that are on a similar journey? And maybe I'll jump to Dagmar to start that one.
Sure. So thinking outside of the box really helps. Firstly, I have to be really organized, and the people around me, I like them to be organized as well so that I can find things quicker. Today, with technology, I can look in the mirror, and the mirror with my Meta Ray-Bans will describe exactly what I'm wearing, the colors I'm wearing. So today's technology has enhanced those strategies incredibly. But when I was younger and the technology wasn't around, if I went to other cities, I still had enough sight to walk around without bumping into things in those days. But I would count blocks, or I would look at buildings and try and recognize them so that coming back I would be able to find where my hotel is. So you figure out strategies that aren't common use to anyone else. I mean, have any of you counted blocks or recognized certain aspects of a building?
I see lots of nods happening in the audience.
Thank you. So there are so many things. I think when you have to adjust and find accessible ways to figure things out, you learn to think outside of the box. You become a creative thinker. You become a good leader. I've learned how to tell people what I need and how to get it for me. And of course, Sandra, you're absolutely right. A smile and a nice way of asking goes a long way. And people are always so willing to embrace and help me. And now that everybody knows, or most of my friends and most people know that I have vision loss, they see me coming. They give me their arm and say, "Are you going to yoga? I am too, let's go." Or whatever they ask me, "Where do you need to go?" It's just, I am so happy I've revealed the fact that I cannot see, because I've realized and recognized the human, side of people, how genuinely kind and helpful people are to assisting anybody. We're all here for each other, and I would do exactly the same. If I could see and someone couldn't, I would be there to help them. So yeah.
That's great, thank you. Wayne, what about you? Any strategies or insights, practical tips?
Black cutting boards saved my life in the kitchen. Allows me to do kitchen prep a lot easier than white cutting boards. The contrast really helps me. Proper lighting. A lot of times, like even in the yard and in the house, I make sure that I've got proper lighting that helps me in low light circumstances. I guess technology's progressing so quickly these days. iPhones and magnifying equipment, talk back or read aloud or stuff like that allows you to really use technology. And I'm learning. It's a learning basis just about every day as far as technology goes. Audio books save my life a lot of times, just so I'm able to listen to a book instead of reading it. It's a little bit hard for me to read these days. People are wonderful. They see you. They want to help you, and if you treat everybody with that type of kindness, then they treat you that way too. So that's what I find works for me the best.
Thanks, Wayne. How about you, Sandra?
It's going to be a little bit corny, okay? But because we're going on a journey, so I brought some packaged stuff that you need for your journey in my life. So I'll just bring them out. and then
I
I'll
love
talk
this.
about them.
Show and tell. Can I help you?
I think it's okay.
This is like a Mary Poppins bag. You just keep going. There's more and more in the bottom. I love it.
All right, so I do card making, and I attend a ladies' time out session where every Monday we make cards. And of course that became much more difficult when I started having my eye problems. But there was a couple of things that were really beneficial. So I learned about doing laparoscopic coloring. Now that's when you use your CTV and you put your item that you're coloring underneath and you train your eye just like the surgeon to color accordingly. Because when you have macular, you go outside the line, you don't know where the lines are, etc. So that has been really beneficial. The other thing that was really beneficial for me was I had a lot of counter space that didn't have good lighting underneath. And one of the things my husband found for me on Amazon was this particular light. And it just attaches, so you don't need to use a lot of electrical supplies. It attaches with a magnet underneath the counter, and then it is just rechargeable. And so this is really, really been beneficial for me in my studio.
Yeah, so if you're able to see Sandra, it's a sort of a skinny, long, rectangular metal piece, and one side there's a button when it lights up, and that is so cool, and you can have it under the counter.
It's really been very beneficial for my work because I find light is so important for me at this point. So those are two things in my craft room that were important. I like to garden a lot, and the good thing about Leo Vision is you don't see the weeds as well. So, you know, it's wonderful. When they finally get big enough, then you can attack them. And so, but I kept losing my tools in the garden. And so, once again, my husband, quite creative he is, he came up with this pink fluorescent ribbon that we put onto the tools. And then I never lose them anymore in the garden. So that's another really good thing that if you like to garden, that would be a good thing for you to do. The other thing I use a lot is sticky dots. And sticky dots are usually used in either the kitchen or a lot of times in for my makeup so that I can know what I'm doing. So I've got a lot of bottles that are very similar. These two bottles are exactly the same. And I don't want to be taking out a magnifying glass to figure out what's what. So what I do is I put a sticky dot on it. I can usually see it because it's large and it's colorful, but I can also feel it. So as my vision gets worse, I'll be able to feel that I have a sticky dot. I know that I should put this on later, not before the other thing.
I like these too because they're very high contrast. They're bright colors. So it's just like a sheet you'd get at like the paper supply, like a Staples, and it's like red, blue, green.
Exactly.
And also, one thing I think is really neat, Sandra, is you've got tape over the sticker, so it's much more tactile.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the last thing that I found is I was always using Sharpies, which I'm sure a lot of you are doing to write your notes to people. And you're trying also to train your family members to write with this to give you notes, because otherwise you can't see what they've written you very well. And so these were from the Canadian Institute from the Blind, but you can also get them on Amazon. And they're pens that do not bleed through. Old habits die hard, so I still run a day timer as a result of my job that I had. And so I find that if I use this particular pen, it doesn't bleed through to all the other pages. So this pen has been really beneficial. I have them all over the house.
So it's called a Pentel sign pen.
Yeah.
I think you need an Amazon storefront. You could have a little side hustle and getting all these products out there. That's awesome.
And I think the other question you had was sort of what did I need, what sort of other things would be really important for me to have. And that's, as I discussed before, is the technology. And I just learned from the booth at Canadian Institute for the Blind that they now are offering sessions, which I didn't realize. And so I would really like to sign up for some of those because I think those could be very beneficial for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I'll use that as a call out to all our fantastic exhibitors out there today, because I think, everyone's really touched on this idea that we're all on this stage really invested in vision research, but we know that that's not going to bear fruit tomorrow. So the people who are out there in that foyer right now can really help with strategies that can help in the here and now. And that's a super important piece of the journey.
I was going to mention just one more thing, and I think you touched on it, Wayne, when you talked about using your cane. Just recently, when I did go on my trip, I think one of the things for most of us with low vision is the fear of tripping and falling. And as you know, we all get older, and I have knee problems as well. So I've now, when I was traveling, I was using 2 walking sticks. And that really helped me. And I agree with you, Wayne, when you said people are then more willing to sort of assist you in whatever you need. So that's very beneficial too. So I would really recommend, even if you haven't got a cane because you're not considered at this point legally blind, but walking sticks are very beneficial if you just have got low vision.
That's a great tip. Okay, so I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to let everyone know we'll take a couple audience questions, both from our online audience or our in-room audience. So think of your questions while we answer this last one. So looking back sort of on this journey that you've all talked so eloquently about today, are there any choices or challenges that you faced that you now see as sort of key learning moments that were like a aha moment for you? And could you talk a little bit about those? So maybe I could start with Wayne at the end.
Sure. I mentioned earlier about using the cane for the first time, surrendering my driver's license. I always try to keep a positive attitude. You know, things will get better with all the research that's going on, and I keep wishing, I guess, and dreaming that there will be a cure for RP. I guess in the future, who knows how long. But I think that if Fighting Blindness Canada and all the research, there's a ton of research going on out there right now. So just keep up the work and keep on digging in and moving forward.
Absolutely. Dagmar, how about you?
Yeah, I must say that coming out of my vision closet, my hidden vision closet, as soon as I came out, people embraced me. They were so genuinely caring, no matter whether I was in the middle of a foreign city or whether I was in my own fitness club or on my street. People embraced me with support, and it felt so genuinely kind and heartwarming, and I felt like I have so many friends. Whereas when I was hiding, people didn't understand me, and I wished I had come out a lot earlier, but it was pride that held me back. I was young, I didn't have, I was afraid to be a blind teenager. I wanted to be independent. I didn't want people to coddle me. And so yeah, it took maturity, I guess. But for any of you, if any of you have the onset of blindness, be honest, be yourself, believe in yourself. Because really, once you are honest with yourself, that's when you can achieve anything. And anything is possible. I skied, I skated, I did everything, and nothing held me back. Perhaps I didn't do it as good as the person that has sight, but I still could do it. So that's what's important.
Dagmar, can I follow up with you on that a little bit? So again, your perspective of being fairly young when you were diagnosed, and I know in our audience today there are parents of kids of various ages that are kind of going through this journey. Do you have anything to say to the parents out there? Any advice that you can give them?
Let them do whatever they are passionate about. Don't coddle them. Don't hold them back. Don't tell them to be careful, because I think we learn to be careful on our own. Sometimes it takes a little fall or hitting yourself. I have a son, and my father went out to the park with me with a group of my friends, and he said, your son's really lucky because you don't helicopter him just like all the other parents do. And Alex knows when he's unsafe because he knows that he's on his own. And I think that independence is really liberating. I know for myself, when somebody cuddles me too much, it's overwhelming. So let your children try. Don't be afraid. They'll know when to stop. I'm the first one to know how far I can push myself. And now I'm water skiing. I've downhill skied my whole entire life. I skied black diamond runs. My parents didn't even know I skied black diamond runs. So I just love challenging myself. And if I could do it, it inspired me to do more. And of course, if I didn't feel I could do it, I wouldn't be doing it. So don't be afraid to let your children go and try and learn and be passionate about anything that they want to try out. They're not going to hurt themselves. Trust me. I certainly haven't broken a bone. I haven't hurt myself, and I'm not 30 or 40. I'm not going to tell you how old I am.
Thank you, Dagmar. And Sandra, how about you? Can you finish off, and then we're going to take some audience questions.
I think probably the biggest challenge for me was when I lost my license. Oh, well, I didn't lose my license, actually, because legally I can still apparently drive. Although, oh, heaven forbid, the audience, I could end up making very disastrous things if I was driving. So one of the things, I guess, my learning experience has been, I know a lot of people with vision loss do not want to give up driving. I decided to do that on my own, because I knew I would be a danger to others and to myself. So I encourage any of you that are kind of on the fence as saying, I'm not so sure about my driving right now, really think about that and think about the people around you and your family as well. So I think that's really important. And just, as Dagmar said, just stay positive, and continue to do the things that you can do. I think that's really important. If you are passionate about going to the theater, make sure you go to the theater and take your binoculars with you. Or a friend of mine in the audience has a monocular that Barb uses, and she uses that when she goes to the theater. So stay with the things that you love to do. That's the most important thing. Don't start limiting yourselves.
Fantastic, thank you. So we're going to take a couple audience questions. I can ask Larissa to come up, and then Keith is here. Keith is a show and tell. I'm going to let Keith take over.
Thank you. My wife, who is here, has AMD, and we were talking about canes earlier. She uses this. Now, this comes from Mountain Equipment Co-op in Calgary. It is a hiking pole. It has a nice strap at the top. Nice strap at the top. You can put your wrist through and hold it. It is collapsible. Like that. So it's convenient to carry about. At the end here,
Here, you know what? Why don't you talk into this? No, it's okay. Why don't you talk into this one, and then it'll be
okay.
right up there.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks. At the end here is a rubber stop, and that reveals a tungsten carbide tip. So if you're on roughish ground, you have no trouble about slipping or anything. And that's a great help. If you're on a paved sidewalk, the rubber tip again stops it slipping. So this I would strongly recommend, I think my wife would too, instead of a cane.
I strongly recommend it as well. That's exactly what I used, 2 of them on my trip to Greece, and it was wonderful.
I was half joking about the Amazon storefront, but I think we're onto something here. I think we need to put our brains together. Thank you so much, Keith. I appreciate it. Here, there's some stairs over on this side, so you don't have to. Oh, okay. Oh. All right, do we have any questions from the audience or online? Is there one online? Yeah. Do you want to?
So we have a question from online. My niece has Stargardt disease, just finished college. Fatigue is an issue. How do you deal with it?
So anyone can answer that. So Stargardt's disease, and she says like a fatigue, like eye fatigue. Yeah. Do any of you experience that? Have any thoughts?
Okay. Sure. I guess if you have eye fatigue, perhaps he's trying to read. And I remember those days when I was holding the book up this close, trying to read. It is tough on your eyes. And so learning to speech to text, like there's Audible now on or Chat GPT, you can get a human voice to read what you're learning. Having a human voice read makes it much easier to understand. I find that. Some people don't. Some people like the robotic voice that reads. But the technology, I would suggest, would be a great way to alleviate that fatigue. Because I don't read anymore. I can't read. My sight isn't good enough anymore. And so I listen to Audible books. I have learned the gestures to use my iPhone, my MacBook Air, and I have everything is Audible, and I can read through documents sentence by sentence, word by word, character by character. So it's fabulous. Technology today is the answer if that's where his fatigue is coming from.
Is there any questions in the room? Can you wave your hand? Oh, we have one up here at the front, Marissa.
Dagmar, I'm wondering about your book. Technology keeps moving at such a pace that by the time you get it published, you'll need to revise it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything online that you're planning on doing for people that buy your book, and maybe we could get the revisions online or something? Or?
Well, I haven't yet. I mean, I think podcasting would be a lot of fun, but you're absolutely right. The technology is moving so quickly. Like even 2 years ago, the Seeing AI, it said it could do color, but it couldn't tell the difference between brown and red, and that was really disconcerting and disappointing. But I looked at it just a few months ago and I thought, wow, it identified every color in my top. And it also described the design. And so it is moving so quickly. Like AI, it's exciting. But the CNIB has mentors and tech mates. I'm a tech mate at the CNIB, and they're great at helping people learn technology and because it is evolving, it is changing. I remember the days I used a PC, and then everyone said the MacBook Air is the best, and now the PC is good again. And so it keeps changing. It keeps our brains young because we're constantly learning and adjusting. But technology is revolutionary. It's incredible how it has given me sight. So yeah, my book, it's exciting, and I also am excited to read some of the chapters. I've learned myself as to what technology can do. So yeah, I'm hoping to publish the book by March, and then we'll have to write another book.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but we had one more question here online. So we're going to do a rapid fire lightning round here. The question was, what piece of technology would you say you use the most? So in a few words, what piece of technology do you use the most? Why don't we start with Wayne?
I think the one I use the most currently is the magnifier by Humanware. I can still read, but just with glasses and that, it's a lot easier just to slip it underneath the magnifier, and I can read a lot of stuff that way.
Awesome. Dagmar?
So I use mostly my iPhone. I use the speech to text, text to speech, keyboards that speak, and yeah, the iPhone. All the technology on there is incredible. Like even taking pictures, it'll center people in them wherever I want them. It'll tell me if they're smiling or looking at me or whatever. So, yeah, it would take too long to explain all my technologies. Wait till the book comes out.
All right, and Sandra, we can borrow the microphone from Dagmar there. Yep. Yeah.
I would say my iPad is what I use the most. And I forgot to mention that absolutely that Apple also apparently offers a sessions, 90-minute sessions on accessibility, and it's for anyone who has mobility issues, low vision, or even hearing, and you can sign up for them. You kind of just have to watch their website and then sign up for them there too. So they also have it if you can't wait for Dagmar's book.
Fantastic. Thank you all three of you so much. That was wonderful. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your stories today.